Is it not? It's probably not going to be a long show, anyways, just because.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
okay, cool.
Ev called me last night, and we ended up doing another show for like 50 minutes just off of
nice.
So, you know, yeah. All right, y'all ready to rock?
Yep.
All right. What's good? What's good? What's good?
My lighting sucks. I don't know why.
No. It look good. You changed something?
It's just me.
No. Yeah.
It's just
you good. What's good? What's good? What's good? You tune in Apartment 5B, hosted by your man Kel. I got my squad in effect with me tonight. As always, ladies first. Porsche, what's going on, miss?
How's it going, Kel?
Everything is everything. You know, we'll talk later about rap shows and why I'm just R&B and jazz from here on out.
You go get your white linen suit and groove out with Frankie Bear, baby.
All right, hold on. Let's start again since Ev is in the building.
Nah, I don't start again because I'm only in for a quick second.
We're
now, even if you're here for a quick second, bro, we can start again.
All right, no doubt.
I don't know how you so Philly. You in California with a damn Scully on, man.
You know why, Kill? It's September. It's October around the corner.
All right. Let me start.
You know it's Scully time.
That is the dopest.
What's good? You tune in Apartment 5B, hosted by your man Kel. I got my squad in effect with me tonight. Porsche, as always, ladies first. What's going on, miss?
How's it going, Kel?
Everything is everything. Yo, I don't know how this dude lives in Cali now with a Scully on. Like, you are so Philly, man. What's good, man?
What's good? I'm in here, on my Willie Bobo rough style right now. It's all good. This is what we're doing. I got like 800 things coming in, but I had to come in and drop my thing. So I'm gonna wait till I officially,
Right. I got you. And I got my brother Vern out the ATL. What's going on, good brother?
What up, good people? How y'all doing?
Y'all already know what it is. Look, the other day I was on Twitter. I was chopping it up with somebody, and they was like, "Yo, Kill, how do you know so much about hip hop? Your squad, I love the show. Y'all teach and everything, but almost like it wasn't a disrespectful, but it was like, yo, what's y'all background check? Like, almost on some old, not why should I be listening to y'all because they already listen, but like, what is y'all history? Like, how do y'all know so much about hip hop? And I was like, good question. Why should folk listen? Why should somebody who's never seen Apartment 5B, why should they watch it? And or why should they, take whatever we're saying as like, something serious? So told Ev about the topic. This dude is just off of red eye back from Brussels, hanging with rich people or whatever like that.
Pastor Grey Poupon.
Yeah, exactly. Ev, why did you fall in love with hip hop? Why do you know so much about hip hop? I know you only on here for like 5 minutes before you got to jump back out and dig out the France. So let me know why, how, what, and everything else.
I have to question that though. Know so much about hip hop. I usually don't move off of that because when you talk to cats who were teenagers in like 83, they have a completely different like interpretation and they go so deep in depth as far as what they know. But for my brief history, I'll tell you what started for me. Rapper's Delight, 19. I actually looked at these dates. I was a young boy, 1980, I think it was. I think it's 1980, if I remember correctly from what I brought up. Rapper's Delight was one of the first ones that I heard, and I didn't know it as Rapper's Delight. I knew it as the album with the colorful tornado on it, because I was a young cat, and I remember we used to just try to pop lock to that joint.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? And after that, but the thing that really hit is the next two ones. I was at Simon's Rec, Kill No Simon's Rec, big up to West Oak Lane, Uptown. I was at Simon's Rec. Simon's had a summer camp, and I was a young cat, little young cat, and me and my sister was walking home, and this dude was walking down the block with the big boom box, and he was playing Lottie Dottie. That's the first time I felt my heart beat. Because I remember, and he was walking from behind us, and I'm a little kid, so I'm still like, I think I might have been holding my sister's hand or just walking next to her because I had the bag and stuff on. And it's summertime, so it was hot. So he was just walking, and he walked right by us, and the joint was banging. And I remember looking at the box like, yo, what the fuck is that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? before that, everything I knew was from my parents. And my mom, I got this thing called the back of the Cutlass Supreme. My mom had a Cutlass Supreme, and she would just play the radio, but she would play all her hits. So all I knew was that kind of music. And I saw this dude walking with the Cutlass, with the boombox playing Lottie Dottie, and I heard Slick Rick, and I was like, yo,
Yep.
that was my second introduction. The third one that really got me into the culture, my oldest sister, now by this time I'm probably like 5th or 6th grade, she comes home with this tape with 2 cats on it sitting next to each other, and one of them was holding a gun. And I remember looking at it, and we was church kids. I was like, what? You about to get in trouble for real. But and I remember playing the joint, and it changed my life. And during that time, we used to always stay up late to I Can't Kill. You might have to help me with this one. It was Friday night. It was some station on Friday nights that would play shit.
Lady B, Street B.
Yeah, exactly. So we'd stay up late to watch that. And then at some point, she got her hands on Criminal Minded on the tape. And I remember rocking that joint and it changing. It's like, I remember at that time, I wanted to be a part of whatever this was. Like whatever it was, if they was dancing, I wanted to do that. If they was doing beats, I wanted to do that. Whatever they were doing, I wanted to be down. And so that was my like third introduction. That's the one that got me into the culture. The one that made me want to start writing was 1993, Into the Stage, Black Moon. And I heard Buckshot. And I heard a lot of other cats. I love Big Daddy Kane. I was a big Daddy Kane fan. But Big Daddy Kane just never really like got me to want to start writing. It just always made me intrigued. But by the time Into the Stage came, the cast that I was running with, my cousin, my godbrother, my cousin, Classic, it was all writers. They were just everybody was still kind of new, but it was all kind of writers. And I always admired that. And I heard Into the Stage, and at the Into the Stage, I was like, y'all just want to rhyme. So my senior year, you have your school trip.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't go to school trip. We was in some random studio in Germantown recording a record because we were just at that point we was fully submerged. And that was it, man. From that point, it just took off. It just took off for me.
So tell me what was it about Buck that made you want to start to become an MC? Like, what did you hear from Buck? What was it? Was it, I remember the first time I heard Who Got the Props, and that video like blew my mind. You know what I mean? It was like they had the backpacks on, the beat was crazy.
Yeah. It's funny enough, it wasn't Who Got the Props. It was the second single.
I Got You Open.
I Got You. Yes. That's the one where it starts like this. Boom, 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 boom. He's like this.
You talking about my bad. You talking about
how many MCs?
How many MCs?
Yeah.
Oof. It was Buck had a style.
Yeah.
That was his style was so different than what I heard. It was kind of airy, but it was still dirty. And then on top of that, the perspective that he wrote from. I always admire. He didn't just write like I'm sitting outside doing da and my man over here. He had a different way of actually putting his not even the storylines, but his verses.
Right.
His parables. He was like writing parables to me. He was one of the first ones before Nas. So that in itself, just the fact, and during that time, I'm in high school. I didn't do bad. I was an honor roll student, so I never wanted to be like the drug dealer dude talking about shooting somebody up, or so I couldn't really get. I had to be honest with myself. I knew even back then I have to be honest. And what I admired about Buck was he used a lot of his mentality. It was very heady.
Tell me this, because you just said even back then you knew you had to be honest. Why? Was that the way you were raised, or was that hip hop? Because nowadays cats are around about anything. You know what I mean? So when you said you had to be honest with yourself, where did that come from? Was that a personal thing, or was that? It had a lot to do with hip hop. It was personal too, but it had a lot to do with hip hop because during that time, you got to remember too, like it was about not, they were preaching stop the violence. They were preaching not doing drugs. They were just preaching it was a lot of MCs on that time that were really talking about being actually just stand up people. Just like, yo, this is who I am. You didn't knock the cats that were in the street doing that. But it's like, if that's not you, don't play that role. Don't. And I feel like a lot of the hip hop during that time, even cats that was involved, they were trying to tell you not to do it.
Like
Yep.
rap was trying to tell you not to do it. Like you don't want no part of this. You know what I mean? Like this is what we doing over here.
Mhm.
So for me, it was a lot of hip hop, and I wanted to embrace myself in ciphers, and I just speak real quickly on ciphers because you don't see them nowadays too much because everybody's trying to do the battle, and that's cool. You have the battle MCs, but your ciphers was basically where you came to show who you are. It was about you saying you showing your it was like some wild west shit. Like, you come and let somebody know who you are, what your style is, what you're about, and people remember that. So for me, during that time, I knew if I was going to be in these ciphers and I was going to be in ciphers with people that knew me, I wasn't going to be in a cipher and talking some stuff that cats know that I don't do. Like, dude, you're going to be in church on Sunday. Why are you playing games?
Right.
Like, you ain't out here, popping at nobody. So during that time, I didn't want to even play that role because, I didn't want to be no front. Ain't nobody, you never want to be, you ain't want front. I wasn't trying to front. I saw, and then you growing up in Philly, you front.
You're gonna get tested.
You're gonna get tested. So I might as well be who I'm gonna be, and that's kind of where I ran with it.
All right, no doubt, bro. I know you gotta get on another flight out the country. So
come on, man. See how you doing me? We'll be on that side in about a week, but we'll get up. Thank y'all for having me. My bad, I'm jumping in and out. Just trying to it's a couple hours early, so it's like dinner time, and
I know you gotta do what you gotta do, bro. I know what you gotta do. You'll hit me up at midnight tonight, so we'll get another show.
For sure.
All right,
Peace out.
Bye, Ev.
All right, Vern, what about you, good brother?
All
what
right.
was it that put you in the hip hop mindset, man?
Okay, so I didn't even think about it till you asked the question. So, 5th, 6th grade, you had DMC, Hard Times, it's like that type of stuff, and I come to realize that I really like musicality. So even though it was different and it was our music, I really didn't gravitate to it. The first joint that really kind of woke my ear up, 84, I'm in 7th grade. We used to have dances at the cafeteria Friday nights. My boy Rari and Amir used to DJ. 84, the Freaks come out at night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, what is this thing? Because also you got to think about it. I'm in the Midwest, so we rocking house music.
You're still at Gary.
Yeah, I'm still in Gary. Yeah, so we rocking house music and that type of thing, at the parties and stuff. So that was my first eye opener. 85 is when like the floodgates open because you got Lottie Dottie in the show.
Mm-hmm.
You got a Fly Girl, Dana Dane Nightmares, and thanks Tone Strap. That's one of my boys from up in Gary. Because I went online to try to find out when Nightmares came out, and they said 87. I was like, man, I know I ain't crazy. I know I was in junior high school when it came out because we used to dance to it. He sent me a copy of the record. The single came out in 85. The album came out in 87. And then this is the song that I could say made me fall in love with hip hop. Roxanne was the first song that I ever learned verbatim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would say too, so in junior high, it was crazy. I don't know if they do that at a lot of schools and stuff, but we had a whole hour for lunch, and we could go off campus anywhere. So that's when we started crewing up. And I used to hang with like some b-boys like Tone, Ben, Jermaine. I'm thinking about them now, and they just kind of put me on to some hip hop. And then when it was too cold, everybody hung out in the band room. So you had the music playing, and that's when I started seeing folks breakdancing. I remember this dude George. Big old dude, man. He would be breaking, and then he'll do I think it's called a suicide kill. Like you flip and just end up on your back. Yeah.
Oh, suicide, you like flip yourself over.
Yeah. I'm like, man, this dude is concussed. But that was like when I started seeing breaking and everything, and that kind of got me into hip hop. And if you want me to do it now, I can tell you what song made me want to start rhyming, or you want to wait.
Nah, we gonna wait for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Porsche, what about you, miss?
Well, I think I've said it on the show before. I grew up in Manitoba, so I was there for the first half of, the first
20-second timeout. What's we could just
so Manitoba is directly above North Dakota. So it's prairie, it's flat, it's there is no cultural diversity there. if I can
Is
say.
Canada, right?
Sorry?
We're still in
Is it British Columbia, Canada? What is it?
Where is
BC is on the west.
Okay.
Yeah, Vancouver is on the very west coast. Like we're like on the coast by the ocean.
All right.
And so Manitoba is like smack dab right in the center of Canada. And
Okay.
Canada then goes way over to above, like, I think Massachusetts, even further than that or whatever. But anyway, so I'm smack dab in the middle of Canada. There is no cultural diversity. I'm listening to radio from when I was a kid, going to like daycare. So how I got introduced to hip hop was so random. So I'm Persian. So Persians have these like huge family get-togethers every single weekend where everyone sort of goes to one person's house for dinner and all the friends, and it's always the same crew of people. My parents were all the family friends. They had a son and a daughter, this particular ones. And their son was much older than all of us were. My brother is 2 years older than I am. And then he was even older than my brother. So he's like much older than me at the time. And he's the one who actually brought all these tapes because he would be able to go to LA and New York. And he was traveling around the US all the time and gathering these tapes and bringing them to these family gatherings so that all the boys could kind of hang out and, listen to this music while the girls did like girl things and, whatever we did. And so one time I remember I hear this music coming from this area of the house, like downstairs or a room or whatever. And they're playing Run DMC. And I'm like, what is this? Like, where did this come from? Because I've never heard this before. It's not playing on the radio stations that my mom's listening to. So then, and they're not really talking to me because I'm a kid. So anyways, my brother gets a hold of this stuff and he brings it home and he's teaching me like one by one, like this Run DMC. And then he's telling me about Run DMC from this guy who was in New York and got it or whatever, however he acquired it. So that's how I got introduced to hip hop. And then he was our hip hop plug. So every time we had these family gatherings, he would have some new music with him. So I was listening to Run DMC. I was listening to like everything we could get a hold of. So it was like Tone Loc, Young MC, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Like I think I knew some words to Nightmare on My Street when I was so young. And I'm sitting there like scared. I'm half scared because of all the background, like, that Freddy Krueger type voice. So I'm kind of scared, but I'm still like, this is banging. I love it. And so hip hop just sort of was that, like, it was the first genre of music that I sought out all the time. Like I always wanted to know, hey, does Human have any more music? Like, hey, did you get anything new? Like, what are we listening to? But we would play those tapes like over and over and over again until we got the next new one. And then it wasn't until I moved to BC that was like a huge like difference for me because that's where like rappers were coming here in concert. The Rascals were here. Like we had Cardinal Official come here sometimes. So there was a lot of talk of hip hop. So this was like crazy to me. I was like, what? Like this is now accessible? I would go to HMV, which was our music. It was our version of, I guess, did you guys have Sam Goody? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we would go to HMV, we'd line up, and HMV let us like open CDs and listen to them at a listening station. So I would literally go to the mall with my mom and I was like, I'm going to HMV, I'll see ya. And I would just sit there and listen to these CDs over and over again for as long as she was there. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how hip hop sort of became part of me. And then it wasn't until Protect Your Neck and Wu-Tang that I was like, okay, done deal. Like I would like proclaim my love for the culture, the genre, the music, the rapping, the skills. Wu-Tang is the group that made me, 36 Chambers is the album that made me want to like study hip hop, if so to speak. I would I wrote out the lyrics to that whole album because until I got into school, and then I was like, oh, internet, and let's go like, search for these things. And then that happened. But that's how Protect Your Neck was the very first song, hip hop song I learned all the words to. And Wu-Tang was the group that did it for me. There was no going back after that. And yeah, I mean, I've joked about it on the TL a few times where I would play 36 Chambers and that torture skit would come on, and my dad literally was like, "Why are you listening? Like, what are you listening to?" And he was gonna throw 36 Chambers out the window, and I was like, "I'm gonna go after it. So if you're gonna throw it out, like I'm gonna throw myself out the car." And then he was like, "You're not listening to this. I don't want to ever hear this again." So I would sit in like a room and listen to it on a CD player, low, super low, and I would just listen to 36 Chambers like that. And then it was everything else was just like, just came afterwards. And then NWA, sorry, I forgot to mention NWA was also part of it before Wu-Tang, but something about the Wu that just kind of, I don't know. NWA I loved. Everything about them, but it was Wu-Tang. I think for me, it was because they were from New York, and New York to me was where hip hop was. And that was where I was always told that hip hop was born. So everything East Coast, and I always talk about how I'm sort of kind of slanted to the East because ever since I was young, it's been the East Coast MCs that I've kind of gravitated to because I've always ever known that that's where hip hop started. So that's how it was for me. And then obviously throughout the years, I acquired books. I was like, oh my God, like KRS wrote the Gospel of Hip Hop. I'm going to buy that. If there's any hip hop book, I probably have it or read it or something, because that's just what I do now. So I pretty much don't read anything other than hip hop books. And that's just how it is.
Is he dead? Is he dead?
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. We're gonna talk about books later. For me, everybody knows I'm from Philly. I heard Rapper's Delight, heard Christmas rap, and heard the breaks, and it was cool. All that stuff was cool, but it was Run DMC's debut album. You know what I mean? When I heard Rock Box, it was like that's like when I heard hip hop. Like I would listen to it,
yep.
Because rock, I mean, again, I'm always going back to the 10-year-old thing. I fell in love with hip hop, and I hate that because that's that brown sugar, and I hate that movie. But that's when I fell in love with hip hop was 10, and it's always that's the age I kind of always place on people getting the Jones for hip hop. I mean, even Common said, I fell in love with this chick when I was 10 years old. Something about 10, me working with kids. I understand 10 is that year when you start to make decisions yourself. You can decide I like this, or I want to dress like that, or I want to do this. And it was just, it was this album right here, Run DMC. Like, and this, the last week we were talking about my foundation in hip hop. It was Run DMC. This is what just did it for me, and then on the back, seeing them with the sweatsuits and everything like that. And I know for me, falling in love with hip hop, I'm an only child. I have two sisters on my father's side, but I'm my mother's only child, and I'm the oldest. So I didn't have an older brother to teach me how to like dress or how to be fly or how to do stuff. So it literally was like, oh, they got on Adidas sweatsuits. I need an Adidas sweatsuit. It literally was like 1 + 1 = 2. And then I was just saluting this on the timeline today, the Fat Boys' first album. Like, this was the first album that I owned. My dad's girlfriend at the time, who later on became my stepmother, got this for me for Christmas. And this was like the first piece of vinyl that I owned, was this album. And even today I was saluting it. When I salute this album, I forgot who schooled me to this. But somebody schooled me this. They were like, yo, Kill, the first Fat Boys album was a Disco 3 album. You know what I mean? Because the Disco 3 used to be their name. And then basically, when this album got made, Curtis Blow was like, yo, we need something more marketable for you. So we're going to come up with the Fat Boys. But to me, this album is a Disco 3 album, which is why this album doesn't sound like any other Fat Boys album, because after a while, these guys became a spoof for hip hop, in my opinion. They was doing songs with Chubby Checker, and Let's Do the Twist. They was doing Beach Boys, Disorderlies. They literally became a spoof of hip hop. To me, they were like the first marketed group in hip hop. And you know, so this is the Disco 3 album. The other leg of the table was LL Cool J. Like this, you know, I can't live without my radio. Like just the album cover being in whenever. I love what Ev talking about. And the reason I love doing a show with y'all because everybody brings their aspect from where they were from and everything like that. And Philly being right next to Jersey and New York, the radios were everything. Like Vern, I don't know how it was in Gary and then Atlanta, but all seeing people walk around with these boom boxes, like with and like they were huge. You know what I mean? And anybody who's younger could definitely relate to it if you've seen Do the Right Thing with Radio Raheem and everything like that. But that's how it was. It was these people walking around with these gigantic radios blasting music. And this album was crazy to me. And then the last one, I don't actually all these joints except for probably L and Run, but the Fat Boys is a very hard to find on CD album. I don't have Houdini, but Vern, you touched on it, but it wasn't the Back in Black album. It was definitely the Escape album.
Yes.
That had 5 minutes of funk, Freaks Come Out at Night, you got a Big Mouth, the title cut Escape. Those four groups, Houdini, LL, Run DMC, and the Fat Boys, that's what made me fall in love with hip hop. You know what I mean? Audio wise. Now, visual wise, I saw Breaking and it made me want to break. But when I saw Beat Street, it was a done deal. Like Beat Street was the icing on the cake. It was the I want to be Lee. I want to be a DJ. I want to be Ramo. Like it literally. And then I just like hip hop has saved my life, but hip hop also helped me to fail miserably as a student because my brain in class was just, I'm not taking notes. I'm doing graffiti in my book all day. That's all I'm doing all day long is graffiti. All I'm doing is writing.
I was just going to bring that up.
What's that?
Like my first exposure to graph was when, like back in Manitoba, because Manitoba exports the wheat for I think all of Canada and then into the States as well. So those trains that carry them, when they would come back, they would be full of graffiti everywhere. And so I remember like being stopped behind this railroad track and these trains would pass by and every single container had all like covered, I'm telling you, covered in graffiti. And I was like, what is that? I remember asking, I was so young. I remember asking people like, what is that art that's on these trains? How come all of them don't have it? And they're like, oh, that's not art. That's actually vandalism. And I was like, what? I was like, no. That's not vandalism. Like, because people were frowning on it. And I was like, but this is art. Like, it's beautiful. And then it was, well, you know, graffiti is part of hip hop culture. And I was like, I'm in love. Like visually for me, graph was what I loved it. And I was graffitiing everything. Like I mean, my books, I would try and I didn't know anything about tagging. I didn't know anything about having like a particular moniker to tag. I didn't know anything. All I knew was it looked cool. I love the colors and I wanted to do that art. So my books were covered in that all the time.
Yeah, and it's the same with me. But my only problem was I was doing this shit while I was in class, and I should have worked. Yeah, that's the only difference. But yeah, all I'm doing is graffiti all day long. All I'm doing is trying to write rhymes. All I'm trying to do is. It was 84, and it's a I don't know if people are gonna be able to see. It's like this is me in like 85, like with my first turntables and sitting in my room. Like that's all my life became was just. All hip hop, you know, it was like I remember, and people have to understand, like for people, Vern and I, in my age, is that we were alive when there was no hip hop. You know what I mean? Like I know a lot of people can't relate to that, but there was a time when there was no hip hop. Like it did not exist. You know what I mean? And like Eb was saying, for me in Philly, it was Power 99, Lady B, Street Beat. I mean, if you watch, I think it was The Breaks on VH1. I wasn't a big fan of it, but it was all right. You know, where radio shitted on hip hop. You know, radio stations were proud to say, we don't play that. You know, we don't play hip hop. We don't do this. And you had to, and that's what I liked about hip hop was like, it was almost like when liquor was illegal. You know what I mean? And you had to like sneak. And Portia, one of the things you said that I wrote down was you sneaking to have to listen to it when your dad said you couldn't listen to it. Like, that's what hip hop was. It became that like taboo thing, like that you had to sneak, you know what I mean? Or like Ed was saying, we'd have to stay up on Friday nights till midnight. You know what I mean? To hear these songs. You know, it wasn't on 24 hours a day. It wasn't on every commercial. It wasn't in Right On magazines. You know, it wasn't in any of that stuff. It was like this taboo thing. So, I mean, I think that was it for me, Vern. I'm 100% with you on Roxanne. Roxanne being the first rhyme that I learned verbatim. You know what I mean? Very hard to find on CD, the UTFO album. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember getting on the bus and staying up all night because Power 99 had this thing called the Power 9 at 9, and they would give you the top 9 songs, and me recording it. I walked on the school bus one day with Roxanne playing in my headphones. I'm walking on a school bus, like saying the words, and everybody was like, "Oh shit, like you got that?" I'm like, "Yeah, nigga, I got it." You know, so hip hop for me also became the way to be cool. You know what I mean? And I say it to a lot of my teens now that I work with. If you don't want to get caught up in the street, you have to have something to hold on to, something to gravitate to keep you away from the nonsense. And for me, that was hip hop. That was how I became cool. If you talk to anybody who's ever known me from day one, they will be like, killing hip hop, like hip hop. That was hip hop. If you want a new song, go to Kill. If you want this, go to Kill. Like that's what was able to keep me safe in my neighborhood, because it was like if real thug niggas wanted to rhyme or get a demo done with them rhyming over something, you gotta go see Kill. So hip hop essentially in so many ways saved my life from keeping me from getting into dumb shit, along with other things. I'm not saying that, prayer, my mother, great family and all those things, but even with, I know a lot of people who have all those great things who still go down the wrong path. You know what I mean? So it's not just like a great family keeps you from getting in trouble. But for me, it was like hip hop. It was like, nah, that's my thing. And Static Selector said this. He said, if hip hop hasn't saved your life, you'll never understand it and love it the way I do. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you can love hip hop, but like the key in that sense, I want people to hear it the way I do. You see what I'm saying? So the way I love it is because it kept me out of trouble. The only reason why I never sold drugs, Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. I love that album. And for me, I can't love Chuck D and then turn around and sell drugs. I can't love Night of the Living Bassheads and then go out here and be the dude who's getting people high. Like literally that album, I probably would have 9 times out of 10 sold drugs. I'm not saying I would have been a drug dealer my whole life. I may have just tried to sell drugs for 3 weeks and called it a day. I don't know, but that's what that album stopped me from doing that. And I do know if I would have done that, sold drugs, something in my life wouldn't be what it is right now. You know what I mean? Maybe I get arrested. My mom makes me go live with somebody else. Something doesn't line up to where I'm married with a kid and doing what I do without that album. So yeah, I mean, hip hop saved my life, and everything y'all talked about, Lottie Dottie, same thing. Vern, I remember having to sneak to listen to that because that was the first hip hop song with curse words in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like, oh, I can't play this around my mom. So I had to go over my man who Ed was talking about early, Classic. Classic had an older brother, Walt. So I'd have to go over their house to get Walt to buy the record to listen to it. You know what I mean? There was a time in life. It's crazy now because I have kids coming in with tattoos at 15 years old. I'm like, where y'all got that done at? Oh, this shop around the corner. There was a time when you literally had to be 21 or 18 or whatever the age is to get a tattoo. There was a time when you had to be of certain age. If there was that parental advisory sticker on one of these, they was not selling it to you. You know what I mean? So it was the same way you stay outside the liquor store like, old head, can you go? He was like, yo, old head, can you go in here and buy me this album? Like, so I remember having to sneak to do it. And to me, that was just one of the dopest things about hip hop. To me, Vern, you used to rhyme.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What was it for you that made you say, let me, because I feel like it's steps, you fall in love with the culture. You know what I mean? And you know what? Let me say this real quick before I forget. I made a tweet the other day, it pissed a whole lot of young people off. And it was like, if you're under 40, you'll never truly understand the hip hop culture, the culture of breaking, graph, DJing, in rapping. And people like, oh no, I know, and I'm like, bro, like I'm going back and forth with some dude, one of my peoples, and he was like, nah, because Breaking didn't go out till 89. And I'm like, my nigga, I was there. Like Breaking, here's the thing, me and that was talking one day, and I said Beat Street came out in 84. Crush Groove came out in 86. If you watch Crush Groove, there's not one breakdancer in that whole entire movie. So media-wise, this is what I mean, media-wise, it was done. You know what I mean? Porsche, like you said with Graph. The only time I get to see Graph now is these freight trains. My new job is my office is right next to a train yard. So I'm like a little kid. When I hear a train coming, I run outside with my video camera because that takes me back to 84 when you could get on the subway and you saw this every day. So that's great that younger people may have done the research. I applaud you. That's dope. But I always tell people, I don't care how many books I read about Marvin Gaye's what's going on, it's never going to touch me and affect me the way it did my parents, who may have had loved ones who were in Vietnam, who understood at that time. So I applaud everybody for doing their homework, and we're going to talk about that later. That's great. But if you weren't there, if you weren't able to just get on the train after school and see graffiti everywhere, you'll never appreciate it the way I do. If you weren't able to just walk down the street to the corner store and see cats breaking on the cardboard, you'll never understand it the way I did. You talking about the suicide burn? I don't know what we were built of. I'm dead ass, and Vern, you're laughing because you understand what I'm saying. Bruh, I don't know how I didn't break every bone in my body. Number one, just wrestling. I mean, we would see wrestling on TV and then go to somebody's yard with a fence and really think we was in a cage match, and nobody ever broke nothing. Like we was trying to spin on our heads, falling. A kid nowadays will be running down the street and just fall and broken arm. I'm like, bro, how is your arm broken? You just fell. Like, so, but all that to just say that, you know, I was just trying to be a part of everything. So salute to the young people for doing it. But at the end of the day, bro, if you wasn't there, sometimes you just got to shut the fuck up and just listen. It's okay to just listen and learn. Vern, you being an MC, what made you want to be an MC?
All right, so this is freshman year in Georgia State. My two best friends who also went to college with me, I spent a lot more time with them. They had a studio in their basement. They had a 4-track and a drum machine, and around them all the time. So that's when the bug bit me. And the song that literally made me want to be a rapper was Footprints on People's Instinctive Travels, a Tribe Called Quest. I don't know what it was about that song. I don't know if it was the Stevie Wonder sample or, you know, the beat or whatever it was, but I think De La Soul and Tribe, I identify with them. They were more like me than the Run DMC or LL or those type of dudes. They were like regular dudes who rhyme. And so I'm a freshman. My confidence is up. You know, I'm in college, you know, got a little job, got a little money, got access to it. And so I'm in my first 10 to 15, I'd say about 10 were whack. I mean, I was just thinking about some of the stuff that I wrote today. It was horrible. But because I had access, I got better and better at it. So it's the Tribe Called Quest, that and Tribe and De La showing me that regular dudes could do it as well. And so that sparked an interest in me. And we used to go to a place called The Warehouse, and my guys produced for a lot of other people. They would get in ciphers. I wasn't a cipher type dude. I was a writer. I was a thinker, you know, so I honed my skills that way. And then when other guys would come over to do that stuff, I would jump on tracks with them. And that's how I got better. But that's what was my introduction to want to be an MC, hearing Q-Tip on Footprints.
All right, no doubt. Porsche, you tell me this, miss. I'm actually kind of shocked you don't rap or you don't do something. Why don't you?
I know.
You never wrote a rhyme?
I'll tell you. No, I haven't. And I'll tell you why. It's because, again, you have to understand, like, sometimes I wish so much that I was in the States for some period of my formative years. And that's solely because of the hip hop culture that's so alive and vibrant in the US and all over the US, even if it's not in LA or New York per se. Everywhere there's pockets inside the US that has such a vibrant hip hop community. I never really had that. Like Vancouver was the most that I experienced. And even then, when you think about it, it's like it pales in comparison to even, I don't know, I want to say like Wichita. Like I would assume that like anywhere would have a better hip hop scene than here, just because, you know, it just wasn't huge here for whatever reason. But anyways, all my life I was told, oh, you'll grow out of hip hop. Oh, you'll grow out of hip hop. Oh, it's only for like you'll grow out of it eventually. It's a young culture. You'll grow out of it. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like I feel like it's a part of me. And they're like, yeah, you know, I get it because I used to love hip hop. And I'm like, no, because I can't imagine listening to anything other than hip hop. And I did every now and then, like, you know, I listen to different genres, but hip hop is my go-to. It's my comfort. It's where I don't know how else to explain it. I really have a lack of words for that. So for me, it was because I wasn't around. I feel like the MCs that I listened to were like, I viewed them as poets. I viewed them as literary masterminds. I viewed them as how I would like Maya Angelou or Shakespeare. Like they're in the same category. I was so like taken it, like so shocked and awestruck when these MCs would rhyme words to this beat. And I was like, there's no way I can do that. Like, I don't even know where to start. Everything sounded dumb. Everything. Like I remember being younger at a camp, and I would always try to get people to love hip hop as much as I did, but no one, some of them did, but then eventually people grew out of it. And I saw that and I got a little worried. Like I was like, man, people are telling me I'm gonna grow up hip hop. I will be out of it here in DC, or you know, along that new like Roots album. They're like, I don't really listen to that anymore. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I just was scared. I think more than go, and I regret it so much because if I could go back, I would have wanted to make beats. That's where I wouldn't have wanted to rhyme as much as I wanted to make beats. It's just it kills me sometimes. Like when I think about it, I'm like, God, like I feel like I was sort of, I don't know. I wish I could just go back in time and then go to the States somewhere, anywhere where I had access to people that could have like, you know, just supported me and sort of uplifted me in that area. But I never had that. So
why the beats? Why would you want to be a producer?
You know, and it's so funny because I'm a lyrics over beats person, but I think that I love backdrops, and I think that backdrops, whether they're subtle or you can do a lot with instrumentals and samples and loops and drums and these different instruments and layering and all of this kind of stuff, that it's sort of like a story without any words. And I feel like that it takes so much focus and so much, I don't know what it is about that. I think it's more how impressive Premier and Pete Rock and Large Pro and Q-Tip and Havoc are to me, that the way they make beats, RZA, Dilla, like all of these people, like they're just brilliant. And I would want to, I'm good with words and I'm good at writing, but I think that would also be a challenge. So that's the avenue that I would kind of want to go.
Yeah, because I said I see you as being a spitter because you are
thanks, Vern.
good at words and intelligent.
That's why I was like, yo, you never like, I don't, even if you ain't never recorded nothing, like you ain't even there ain't a notebook laying around somewhere or something.
Like here's the funny thing. Didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I remember being in camp, probably when I was about 13, and I would sit with a couple of my girlfriends and a couple of the guys that were there, and we would like try to, what I later knew was a freestyle, and like we would just kind of say things, but then everything sounded like other people would laugh, and I was like, oh God, I'm such a loser. Like, what am I doing? You know, so that's what I mean. Like there was never anyone, there was no sort of like group or people that sort of,
you didn't have a community.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I never had a community. And that's why I've always hear even like I only talk hip hop on Twitter because there is no people. Well, there are. I mean, there's very few that are hip hop heads like that I would like to talk to, but most of the time there isn't. Even here in now there isn't a hip hop community, and people are like, what are you talking about? There's a whole community of hip hop in Vancouver. And I'm like, if there is, I don't know about it, and I should know about it if it's that vibrant and that big of a deal, and I don't. So
all right, no doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt. The funny thing that you said that I thought about was when you were trying to write, because tell me, like, when you were trying to write, what year are we talking?
we're talking, I would say 91, 92, 93.
And so the two things that I realized, so we're looking at 91 to 93, and then the no community. And the reason those two things stand out to me, the no community thing to me is huge, that I never thought about. Again, another reason why I love doing the show with y'all, because everything that I did, there was a community. You know what I mean? Like, there was a friend down the block. It was me and my man Cool DJ Frank. That was, you know what I mean? Every day after school, we're there together. He's getting records from his older brother. I'm getting records. Then when it was time to MC, it was like my man Marvin and Cool DJ. Like, there was always been a community. When it was breakdancing, there was a community. So I totally could understand. I don't know where I would be if I was the only one. You know what I mean? So I definitely understand that. And
You wouldn't be producing, and you wouldn't be rhyming, and you wouldn't be at Morgan doing a radio show that's the dopest radio show. Like, you just wouldn't.
Yeah, and then the other part is when you're if you don't have that community, and then you're trying to learn how to rhyme in 91, like, that's totally different than trying to learn how to rhyme at 10 and 84, because the lyrics weren't Shakespearean. The lyrics were very, you know, I'm coming off of the tail end of Yes, Yes, Y'all. So who can say yes, yes, y'all, drop the beat, y'all? Like, you know what I mean? So those two things make a whole bunch of sense, because if I'm trying to learn how to rhyme when Main Source is out, it's gonna be kind of hard. Or when G Rap is out, and when Rakim is out,
Yeah.
Sweat the Technique. Whereas I'm learning how to rap with Kool Moe Dee, Gosi, The Doctor. You know what I mean? Like, simple things, or like, you know, UTFO. Not to say that these rhymes weren't amazing at the time, but I still want to do this show. It's just I'm taking the time to really map it out, where we look at the different pockets of hip hop, and where you see hip hop going from Yes, Yes, Y'all to I Can't Live Without My Radio, and why those MCs couldn't. It's almost like they couldn't move to the next grade. You know what I mean? It's almost like they failed, and it was like, all right, y'all gotta stay back there. Or then how those MCs like Kool Moe Dee could move to the next level of Rakim, KRS, and Kane. Like, there's always this like upping the ante of hip hop. So I totally get it, because I feel like if I tried to start rhyming in 92, I would be like, nah, this shit is trash. You know what I mean? So
Well, you think you're trash because they're so good.
right.
Like,
They're-
like, think about who's releasing albums in 91, 92, 93. Like, these are golden years in hip hop. So you think everything you're doing is like, this isn't how they do it. They're not writing these loser words here. They're not saying things like window. They're not saying things like table. Like, what words am I trying to pull from? You know, like, I just don't have, you end up copying lyrics, plagiarism.
It makes sense, because my man Biz schooled me to this. He was like, Kill, and I know everybody loves Too Short. This is no disrespect to Too Short. I just never looked at him as a lyrical giant, okay? And Biz would tell me, Kill, I can do what Too Short does. I can't do what Rakim does. You know what I mean? And to some extent, what I mean by that, and that's why I'm saying no disrespect to Too Short, because even hearing the Fat Boys and Run DMC, I felt like I could say these rhymes. I felt like I could come up with this. Now, once the bar started getting raised to ride, once 87 got here, I was like, I don't know if I could do this, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because at that time, what they were doing is amazing. It's a bad analogy, but maybe some folk will get it. Growing up, I loved the circus. The circus was like the shit when I was growing up. When I had Naomi, we took her to the circus, most boring thing in the world. You know what I mean? Because times had changed. People had video games now. Seeing somebody fly off a trapeze wasn't as amazing as it was in 1984. No disrespect to the people who are in the circus or what was going on in 84, but so much stuff made it so much bigger. So I feel you. I started off rhyming because I wanted to be LL. I wanted to be Run. And after a while,
I wanted to be MC Light. Like, I was like, oh, MC Light is the dopest female ever. I was like, she's so cool. Queen Latifah, so dope. But like, she's not saying table and window.
Right,
she's not. And I'm sitting here going like, okay, I can talk about my shoes. Like Ren MC talked about their Adidas, but like, what dorky shoes am I wearing? Like, they're not as cool as their Adidas, you know? Like,
it ain't too late. I want to hear you put about 3 songs together, man. You got it in you.
yeah, I believe I'm with Vern. I think you got it. I think you can do it.
Thank you guys.
Because for me, I've always been, if I can't be the best at it, one of the best at it, I don't want to do it. So it kind of like there was a part where I was like MCing with my friends and I saw them getting better and me just staying right here. And I was like, all right, let me try the DJing thing. And I did that for a while. And then I saw my man, Cool DJ Frank, getting better. And I was like, all right, screw that. You know, with the graffiti, I didn't have access in Philly to train yards. You know what I mean? So I believe in my heart of hearts, if I would have had access, my dumb ass would have got arrested for trying to break in the train yard, you know. But Philly is different from New York, where there's a train station on every, you know, corner. It's not like that in Philly. Like, I got to catch a bus, a 20-minute bus just to get to the trains. You know what I mean? So I'm sure if my neighborhood had train yards, I would have been doing graffiti. But the same thing with that. There was a level where I was just like, I'm nice at this, but on a notebook. But can I really do this on a wall, or can I really do this on a fucking train? Like, probably not. And then it was when I got the bug because my man Cool DJ Frank came on the block one day with my man Marvin, and he was like, yo, we just did a demo. And I was like, at that time in like maybe 86, 87, a demo to me was you came over my house, I threw on the instrumental to Rockbox, and you grabbed the mic and you kicked something over Rockbox. And they was like, nah, we came from the studio. We got an original song, and they played me this song called On a Rampage. I still got it on my hard drive to this day. Blew my mind. Because at that, and people at home who have, you know, you buy an iPad, you got a studio nowadays. Like, and you gotta understand, in 1987, the studio was the shit. Like, going to the studio was damn near like going to heaven. It was like, are you serious? Like, so, Boris, you laugh. I'm dead serious.
No, I don't doubt that.
I tell folk this. Imagine if you loved basketball, but there were no basketball courts. And all you could do was just dribble in the street all day long. And then one day somebody said there's a basketball court and you can play. It literally was like Vern said, like, are you serious? You know, and then on top of that, the studio was in West Philly. The thing about Philly is all our rappers came from West Philly. Jeff and Will, Schoolie D, Steady B, everybody was from West Philly. So I'm like, y'all, there's a studio in West Philly and we can go to, and it was my man Hollis, who I'm chopping it up with on Twitter now. And I remember not even know what a producer did. I remember just saying, how much are the sessions? And he said, well, Hollis's mom knows Marvin's mom, so he just charges like $20. I pulled out $20. I was like, I'm paying for the next session. I'm the producer. Like, I thought all I had to do was pay.
You're the executive producer.
So I was like, I'm producing this album. There's my $20. And they're like, nigga, it's $20 an hour. And I'm like, oh shit. Well, I don't know if I'm producing it. So, but going to see and then seeing Hollis and I remember Hollis having a Kai S950. It was a rack mount sampler. And just seeing him in there pushing buttons and just like you said, Porsche, maneuvering sounds and sampling this and I remember he sampled Sade and he brought in a Stevie Wonder piece. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And then when the Beat Nuts Street Level album came out with Props Over Here and all of that, like Primo, Pete, all that stuff, I was like, I want to make beats. But when I heard that Beat Nuts album, I went back to school, went back to Morgan, and I was like, yo, I don't care if I have to rob a bank. I'm getting SP 1200, you know? And I was doing so many scams that I thank God for that. I didn't get caught. Well, I did get caught, but I didn't get kicked out of school for it by the grace of God to do anything to get this equipment. Like, I was like, I have to get it. And my mom is a jazz musician. So I can always say that my mom has always supported me. The 2 turntables and the mixer, anything I ever wanted, needed. But by her kind of raising me financially on her own, I never wanted to be a burden. I never wanted to say, because people got to realize SP 1200 was $3,000. You know what I mean? So to ask a damn near single black woman who's working a 9 to 5 as a school teacher, doing jazz clubs, you know, after hours to put her kid through college, the last thing you want to do is be like, and can I get $3,000? You know what I mean? Like, you know, but it just got to a point, and, you know, I met my man, this cat Osei, and he had like this setup. He had a 4-track, and he had a little Gemini mixer with an 8-second sampler in it. And he hooked the 2 things together, and that's how he was making the beats. And one summer I went home, and the guy my mom was dating was a bass player, and he had a 4-track at the house. And I just went past cool DJ Frank's house. I'm still cool with Frank 10, 15 years later. And he had an 8-second sampler, and it was like, oh shit, like I could do this. And then I started doing stuff like that. My mom saw I was serious. She eventually caught me the ASR 10, and the producer bug just hit me. It stuck. You know, I'm still doing it to this day, just out of love, you know, and I think that that's one of the differences with a lot of people now. A lot of people now are able to look at hip hop as
come up.
Yeah, it's a come up. It's a career. Like when I came up, hip hop was not a way to get your mom out the ghetto. It just wasn't. You know what I mean? Like you said, Porsche, we didn't know if hip hop was going to be around in 2 years. You know what I mean? We didn't know if the program director of the radio station was going to say, you know what, we tired of this Friday night stuff, just cut it off. So we were doing things for the love, whereas a lot of people who do hip hop now is they see the money, they see the dollar signs, they see everything. So I always tell people there's somebody who, if God came to me and said, right now, Kill, you will never sell a beat on the level of what you want to sell a beat to where you can just not have to work anymore. And I'd be like, okay. And nothing would change. I'm not selling no records. I'm not selling no equipment. I'm not going to stop working with people. But then you have a lot of people who would be like, oh, word, I ain't never going to make no money. Oh, well, throw all this stuff on eBay. You know, let me just, you know. But I just feel like for a lot of people, like that's the love. Of course, you made a great point of people saying, you know, it's going to fade away. Because being at Morgan at 92, everybody loved hip hop. Everybody. You know what I mean? But what I realized after graduating is you had hip hop heads, and then you had people who just listen to hip hop. Because you'd be shocked at how many people ask me, "Damn, Kill, you still listen to hip hop?" Like, and I'm like, yeah, like
I still get that.
Yeah, like, yo, remember we used to kick it on the bridge, and we'd be on campus and woo woo woo, and they're like, yeah, but that was 25 years ago. Like, you know, you're married now, and I'm like, I never got that. I never understood the way people outside. I understand people outside of the culture looking at it like that. I never understood people who did like it at one time with that perspective, because I always tell people my mom's a jazz musician. She's played on great jazz albums. She's never released anything herself, but nobody ever goes to my mom's house and like, damn, Miss Kilpatrick, you still got this piano? Or you still got this saxophone? Or you still got this trumpet? Like, you don't go to an artist's house and say, man, you still got, you ain't never sold no painting, but you still got this easel? Like, why do you ain't never been in no motion picture? Why are you still reading scripts? Why are you still doing, like, I don't know what it is about hip hop, why people that used to like it feel that way. Like, I don't like, that boggles my brain. Again, I get it when outside people do it. I still think it's fucked up, because even though I'm not a jazz musician, I would never question why somebody still has their drum set in the basement. Like, you know, it doesn't compute for me. But another thing I could say about hip hop, going back to Saving My Life, I didn't go to college on some old, I'm a scholar, I want to keep excelling and learning more and more. My mom was like, look, you go to college, you get a job, you go to the military. I'm like, I ain't going to the military because them mofos be waking you up at 6 a.m. yelling at you. That ain't me. I don't want to go, you know, get no 9 to 5. My man took me to, I was on a tour at Morgan one day. My man Melvin, who was from Philly, saw me, was like, that tour, come hang out with us. It was a wrap. I was going to Morgan. But what kept me at Morgan was strictly hip hop. You know what I mean? One day I was in Vibe magazine. I actually got this piece on my wall over here, and Bobbito did a thing of all the dopest like underground hip hop shows. And I didn't even know Morgan had a show. And I'm like reading, and I'm like, oh shit, we got a show. And I was just like, yo, I got to get up there. And I always tell people a story, because I always tell people, go after what you want, because to get at Morgan, you had to do this class called a practicum. And then you had to do an internship. And you couldn't do the practicum till your sophomore year. You couldn't do the internship till your 11th grade year. And of course, the radio station was where everybody wanted, you know, to do this at. So one night I'm in the crib, I'm reading Vibe. It was a story called This Is Not a Puff Piece. It was about Puff. I read this story about how he was at Howard. He would sneak on the train every weekend to catch the train back to New York to intern at Uptown. And Strictly Hip Hop was on. It was 12 o'clock. I was like, yo, fuck it. I'm walking to the radio station, knocked on the door. I was like, yo, my name Killer. I go to Morgan. I just want to be down, whatever. Niggas was like, come on up. Them niggas, like, Vern, you'll understand. I was an intern. Like, interning now is nice. It's like people treat you nice. I was an intern. Like, nigga, there's 10,000 records. Put them shits in alphabetical order. I put them all in alphabetical order throughout the night. DJs are pulling them. You know, it's all fucked up again. Oh, yo, intern, do that shit again. I'm like, no problem. Yo, Kill, here, get this money. Go to 7-Eleven. I did all of that for about 2 months. My man Vinny was like, yo, I'm retiring. I don't want to do the show no more. And everybody, all the DJs thought it was going to be them. And he was like, yo, I choose Kill to do the show. You know what I mean? And I had to start from scratch because all those DJs was like, I ain't working for this nigga. Like, he wasn't even here 2 months ago. I had to get my own DJs and everything. But that's how I started hosting Strictly Hip Hop, which were the best years of my college life. And it ties into why I guess I know so much about hip hop. We're going to get into that. For me, I always tell people I know so much about hip hop because I'm still learning. You know what I mean? Like, there are people who, me and Porsche and Vern know, who love to just get on their timelines and talk about how much they know and how everyone's else a peon and no one knows as much as me. I'm like, bro, my pastor taught me never be the smartest person in the room. So I'm always an open ear for hip hop. That's why I know so much about hip hop. Porsche, you said books. All I do is buy books on hip hop. I mean, book on boom boxes, book, you know, my book Ain't No Half Step in the Latin Quarters, the book on the SP 1200, like Check the Technique, you know, liner note books, you know, Chuck D, the History of Rap books, like,
Yep.
I
you know,
have that one now.
the Beastie Boys. Look at how fucking big this book is. Book, you know, the rap
Encyclopedia.
Yeah, you know,
Your book.
Back to the Lab about studios. So even, and this is just the books that are in my studio. My library is downstairs. So that's a whole nother reference thing that I go to. So this is why I'm always telling people, like, even though you're younger, do the knowledge, read the books. But my asterisk on that is the problem with a lot of folks is they read the books, then they think they're expert. You know what I mean? And then they want to come debate us old people. Read the books, but then come to us old people and get even more knowledge. And that's what I want folk to do. It's great. Number one, if you don't read the books, do the knowledge. But then instead of finishing a book like, now I can debate Kill. No, shut the fuck up. Just now let's talk to Kill. Now let's talk to Porsche. Now let's talk to people and talk about, like, hey, I read this in this book. You know, that's what I do with my mom. I read books about Motown. After I read the book, I go to my mom and say, okay, I read this. Now, is this true? Or how did you see this? Or, you know, it's in the book this, but was it that way? I don't finish a book and then be like, Mom, you don't know nothing about Motown. You know, let me tell you that. No, that's what y'all young mofos do. And I'm just challenging y'all to learn more after you read the book. That's step one. Now it's the same thing with class. You read the book, and then you go talk to your professor about it. So that, to me, is one of the reasons why I know so much. I've loved this culture since day one. Being at Strictly Hip Hop from 93 to 2000, I've interned at Def Jam. I've interned at Rap Sheets. You know, I've had the privilege of being able to be in a lot of behind the scene conversations and understand things and how things work. But to me, the most important thing is that I keep an open ear on other things. Because to me, the tagline of Apartment 5B should be, you learn something new every week. You know, and that's why I appreciate the hell out of y'all, because I learn from y'all every week. You know what I mean? So I'm always telling people that, goddamn it, if I'm learning every week, there's no way you could tell me y'all ain't, other people watching aren't learning every week. Vern, why do you think you are who you are and the knowledge you have on hip hop?
Oh, well, I think it comes from a different angle, from the fact that I grew up. I grew up listening to a lot of fusion, a lot of jazz, and I've always been a backstory type guy. so I'm learning how like the stuff that my uncle used to listen to, like your Billy Cobham, Tony Williams, Yellow Jackets, Weather Report, all the stuff, how that bled into to hip hop, and so that's one part. And just like you said, just a never ending quest for knowledge. This is one of my favorite books of all time by Dan Charnas, The Big Payback. Um, it's so much stuff in that book.
What's the science on that book? Like, what's that about?
Oh man, it's almost talking about the history of hip hop from it starts talking about every aspect from the business side of it to hip hop, to MCs, to the hip hop cops, keeping it real, different eras of hip hop, and it teaches you actually, if you've never read it, oh, that's how such and such came here, and this is how this person got on this label, and this one chance meeting or this one chance encounter is what spurred this or that, man. I mean, it's how many pages is this? It's 600 some odd pages. No, it's more than 600, almost 700 pages, and it's a must read if you haven't read it. Dan Charnas, and actually Dan Charnas is the guy who wrote the show you talked about The Breaks.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a very, very dope book. Just the love of music. I would say also a lot of podcasts, man. I love hearing two in particular. Obviously, Questlove Supreme, but there's one called The Cipher. He's got like 60, 70, 80 episodes. Please listen to it. I mean, it's no longer in existence, but he still has all the back catalog. Again, just hearing backstories of how MCs and producers and things of that nature that we all know and love, how they started. And so those are the things that kind of keep me in touch with hip hop. Y'all are more up on a lot more of the new stuff than I am. But also, like you said, Kill, I'll listen to something because you talked about it, or Porsche talked about it, or Tone or Vague or whatever. And even if I don't just rock with it, I'll at least give it a listen so I know what's going on, man. So those are the kind of things that keep me abreast.
All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. Porsche, what about you? How do you have so much hip hop knowledge?
Like, I'm listening to you guys and I'm thinking, like, I don't really have much hip hop knowledge. I feel like I don't.
Well, here's let's pause right there. Let's pause right there for a second. And the reason why we're gonna pause is because here's the thing: you can't chop it up with us every day, every week for 2 years and not have hip hop knowledge. Like, there are literally people who are like, yo, I want to get on Apartment 5B. I can't hang with y'all. Like, and again, it's why I always salute y'all, because it's not a kill. I can't hang with you. I can't hang with y'all. You know what I mean? So even if you think you don't, you do.
Porsche, your knowledge of hip hop dwarfs me.
Oh
no.
Well, thank you guys. But seriously speaking, like I learn again. This is the common thread here, and I think the common thread of people, at least to me, the most knowledgeable people that I know are people that never stop learning and never stop acknowledging that they're constantly learning. And I find that the reason why I may know, again, I'm always seriously always learning every single day, whether that's through a podcast like Vern said, or a book that I'm reading, or an interview that I saw, or old stuff, like everything. Like I dig back to what people said, even if I've seen the interview 100 times. I've aged, my understanding's aged and grown, my perspective has changed and grown. So I go back to those interviews that I saw when I was 13 and 12 and 10 and 15, 16, whatever, and re-listen to them, because it gives me a different perspective and it teaches me something that I didn't know before. And that's never, ever going to change. Even the book, I read The Tao of Wu at least, I would say once every 2 weeks. That book is never not in reading rotation. That book should be read by every single person who just has an interest in hip hop. I don't even want to say like a hip hop head. It should just be like the prerequisite for anybody who likes music in general. So that's where I kind of do, learn. But also, it's very, very difficult to be in communities and cities and a country that, and a part of a country. I know Toronto has a very, very good and alive and vibrant hip hop community, but all the places in Canada that I've been have never had that. So for me, I've always felt like I have to go so far above and beyond what other people might have to get that same knowledge. So I've always ever been accustomed to learning about hip hop because it never came easy for me ever. So that's how I do it.
Yep.
No doubt. I think the thing too, and just to kind of piggyback on the books a little bit more, is that even this book, Brian Coleman's Check the Technique, you know, he has the first one, Rakim Told Me, then there's Check the Technique 2. The thing I love about this book is that I think also you have to want to learn more about the culture. You know what I mean? I think that that's the key point of it too. You have to want to learn more, because these books, like, I'm a liner note junkie. So when you told me that you're going to hear stories about how some of my favorite albums were made, that sparks my interest. By me making music, that sparks my interest. Like, this is the book where I learned, you know what? Hank Shocklee really wasn't around that much for the making of Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted. You know, it was really more so Eric Vietnam Sandler who was making an album, and then Hank would come in at the end of the day, hear what they recorded, yes, no, change, and then leave right back out. That's all from this book. You know what I mean? Without reading this book, I'm walking around like, oh yeah, Hank Shocklee produced, you know, America's Most Wanted, because Hank Shocklee is the face of the Bomb Squad. The Bomb Squad produced Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted. So there are things that I think went down this way, but when you can pick up a book and get a good book, because again, every book is not good. You know what I mean? Just because you published a book don't mean you know what you're talking about, but because they're actually talking to the artist, you know, in this book specifically, I always salute that. I think the thing that I would want to ask you guys is, what do you think keeps you interested in hip hop? Like, Vern, I know you said that, you know, you don't really keep up with a lot, but I mean, you do. You know, you know the Fontes, like, you're on this podcast and you're talking about newer things. So, like, what keeps you all interested? Because I think we can all agree that hip hop isn't the same. You know, the game has changed. The love for it has changed. All these things have changed. Everything we talked about, that why we love it, isn't the same anymore. You know what I mean? So what do you think it is that still keeps you around this stuff? What about you, Vern?
I would say anybody, I've come to understand that I might not purchase something, but I acknowledge the skill. If you've shown, it might not be something that I would necessarily rock with or purchase, but if I can understand that you have great ability in that style that you're doing, that piques my interest. Also, when I see newer guys that have the spirit or the vein of what made me fall in love with hip hop, that'll grab me. And I've had to come off to get out my line type attitude more, to allow kids room to be who they are. But again, to me, it's if you can exhibit skill level and an appreciation for those who came before you, like a Kendrick, or those kind of guys. I mean J. Cole. It's several others that are young and new and they're doing their thing, but they pay homage to who came before them. They know who came before them, and so they're carrying the culture forward. That's what keeps me interested. And then your Fontes, your Skyzoos, the older guys, the Royces that ain't trying to be in the club with skinny jeans. They're talking to me about expensive jeans, and the things that Fonte talked about in his last album. They're growing. If it's growing with me, I don't. I mean, like a Jay, I'm gonna just say it. I don't care about you being rich and slapping me with your $4 million painting. That ain't speaking to me as a 47-year-old dude who trying to pay off his mortgage and stuff like that. So when I hear a mature song or mature albums that are growing, that keeps me interested as well.
All right, no doubt. Porsche, what about you, miss?
For me, it's honestly the evolution of hip hop, because I was introduced to hip hop when it was away, and then I went through and I was still listening to hip hop when it evolved into what I guess people call gangster rap. And now I guess it's like I get it's continued this evolutionary path to now whatever trap mumble, whatever it is. But I like to see I don't listen to the new stuff as much as other people do. But I do, like Vern said, I do appreciate the artists that hold on to the purity of it. And no matter what, there's still a skill required to be able to write a rhyme. I will never, ever, it doesn't matter what you're writing, doesn't matter who you are. If you can write a rhyme and spit that against a backdrop of a beat and put it out to millions and people receive that, whether it's 1,000 people or 50 million people, I respect the art of it. And I respect the people that are able to execute that. So what keeps me checking for it is exactly that, is how Kendrick is able to, write rhymes and rhyme, like deliver. Being influenced by Tupac, how J. Cole is different from Kendrick, but he's still able to, write rhymes and spit the way he does. And I also love that the newer artists still bring out the old artists that I love. So when we see like Sky Zoo teaming up with Pete Rock, like I love that. That's like new and old going back together. Or, whatever the collaboration is. And that's why I like it, because I like to see the evolutionary path that hip hop is on, even though at times it's heartbreaking. And I'm not going to pretend like it's not. What kills me is when my favorites from when they were in their prime come back and release albums now, and it's trying to keep up with some fad or whatever's a trend. So that I don't like, but the rest of it I'm here for. I'm completely here for, and I'll check for them.
I threw out names. Let me throw out Rhapsody. I really appreciate what she's doing. She's carrying on. I love how she brought Latifah out on her album, and Latifah still let them know, hey, I'm still the queen. You know what I mean? So she's another one that's carrying it forward. And she does a lot of stuff with Rod Digger as well.
Right. And I think for me, again, what we all said, it's hip hop is part of me. Like it's in my DNA. That's just me. And to be honest, I kind of like a part of it because I feel like, at least for me, that it reminds me of back in '88 where I had to like go find some stuff, because it's not what's going to be on the radio. It's not what's going to be on television, the hip hop, the Retropolitan, the bandanas, that music is not just readily accessible. You know what I mean, to me. So for me, it sometimes makes me in my mind feel like I gotta find this joint, or I gotta, nobody's talking about, X, Y, and Z. Even some of my friends who are hip hop heads, are like, oh, I didn't know Pete Rock even still made beats. You know what I mean? So I feel like you kind of got to keep your ear to the street. I live by a code that Nas once said. He said, yo, if it's dope enough, it'll make its way to me. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I feel. I feel like being on Twitter, being around other dope people, I can't listen to everything because it's just too much. Right. You know what I mean? Right. I remember a time when I got one of my albums on iTunes and everybody's like, oh my God, how'd you get on iTunes? Now everybody's on iTunes. You know what I mean? Like Naomi probably got a song on iTunes I don't even know about. But it's just to the fact that if it's dope enough, enough people will tell me about it. So people will be like on Twitter telling me about something. They be like, oh, this album was stupid. I'm like, I've never heard a single human being ever tell me that album was stupid. That's why I didn't hear. I was just telling people today, I've never heard a Lox album before. You know what I mean? Like I literally listened to We Are the Streets last week because they was in town and I was going to the show and I was like, oh, I guess I should listen to an album. Like I know their solo stuff, and it's funny because Porsche, what you were saying about the interviews, I feel like, and Vern, I know you know this from biblical verses, is that you could read something one day and you don't hear something, you hear something later and it sparks your interest. Because when I heard We Are the Streets, I walked away like, yo, this album ain't half bad. I wonder why I didn't listen to it. Then I looked at the year it came out and I saw 2000. I'm like, oh, in 2000, I was in my boom bap zone. Like if I even heard a Swiss beat, I was like, take that shit out of here. So I know if I would have listened to that album in 2000, I would have been like, oh, this shit is trash. But now I'm listening to it in 2019 and I'm like, it's this. I mean, I saw somebody put on a TL today. Is it a classic? No, it ain't no classic. But I can say I enjoy the album much more now than I would have enjoyed it 19 years ago, just because of the zone that I was in with just straight boom bap. Another thing I want to shout out this dude. His name is Erba, ERBA_81. He's a graph artist. He had this joint. I gotta try to see how y'all can see this. Take some of these lights out of here. He did a comic book of the 10 Crack Commandments. So he actually
Nice.
has it like a comic book, like Rule Number Uno, and has the graph figures and like this is the graph that I miss. You know what I mean? So for me, anything that's hip hop, I'm still buying it. So as soon as I saw this and got the last page, strictly for live men, not for freshmen, I was like, yo, I'm copping it. So that's at Erba, ERBA_81, dope graph artist. Tell me, y'all, what have y'all been listening to this week? Porsche, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I might be wrong, but I think I know my sis. Retropolitan.
Retropolitan. I actually had it on literally repeat, nonstop repeat, from the day it dropped until about, I want to say Tuesday. And then I finally listened to, I listened to Retropolitan still, but I introduced something else into rotation, which was Blue and Ono's Long Red Hot Los Angeles Summer Nights. And I just missed LA. My cousins are moving from LA, one of them, and I missed it. So I was kind of like, you know what? I need something to take me back. I put on that album and sure enough, I was just taken back. So Retropolitan and Blue and Ono.
All right, no doubt. Vern, what about you?
Skyzoo, still listening to Little Brother, still listening to Rhapsody. Also, I ran into Timo Goody yesterday, so I went on a Goody Mob binge. And then
Nice.
a lot of old stuff, like I went and listened to Roxanne and Fly Girl and the stuff that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that's dope. And for me, it's been Retropolitan. Porsche, I'm like you. From the second it dropped, it's been on repeat. I literally have it where, I'll hook my phone up to the car with my iTunes. I literally have the CD and the CD player too. So if I take my phone out, it's Retropolitan playing. If I plug my phone in, it's Retropolitan. That's been all week until today. And I was like, yo, I haven't heard Bandana all week. And then I had to put this back in because I was missing this. And it's funny because Ev called me last night. He just got back in from Brussels. And we always joke. I'm like, don't call me till midnight so we can record a show, because our conversations are like legendary. That's why all these podcasts started from our phone conversations. And he was like, yo, you giving this shit 5 mics like in the first week? Like, yo, man, you becoming one of these other niggas just mics and everything? And I'm like, bruh, I've been listening to this album, of course, because you put it on the timeline. What's better, Retropolitan or Bandana? You did that on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love both of them, but it's Bandana easily. Then by Monday, I had to come back and renege and say, I got to take something back. I said easily. It's not easily, and now I may be leaning towards Retropolitan. They're both dope albums. They're both 5 mic albums to me. I think the thing I love most about Retropolitan, it reminds me of New York boom bap. You know what I mean? And I don't know how to kind of define that. Bandana is boom bap to me, but it's not New York boom bap. You know what I mean? And it may be a mixture of both the beats and then what Skyzoo and Pete are talking about throughout the album. But yeah, I've definitely been banging.
Skyzoo is so impressive to me.
Yeah,
This person, Skyzoo has just gone kind of under the radar, but has compiled this arsenal of albums that's so brilliant. He's brilliant. Like his albums are great. This collaboration with Pete Rock was the best move. I love it. I love everything about it. I think they're just a perfect pairing.
Man, you know
Perfect
what?
pairing. Like I can't say anything bad about it.
You know what it makes me upset about though?
What's that?
Why we don't have no Sci-Hi, man? I mean, Skyzoo and Sci-Hi Torre, those guys kind of remind me of each other. They're spitters, and it's a crime that Sci-Hi doesn't have anything out right now, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on Sci-Hi. I mean, No Dope Till Sundays, 5 Mike. I still play that all the time. Bar work for days.
Same.
For me, Sky Zuda, I agree with you, Porsche. And like I said in my review, he's just never had that whole album for me.
Yeah.
Sky has always been, if there's 12 tracks on the album, I love 5 or 6. You know what I mean? Not that the other 6 are whack, but they're just not the same oomph that these 6 had. But on this album, I mean, that's why I was so excited for it, because I'm like, yo, if you can't knock it out the park with Pete Rock, then you'll just be one of those MCs. And again, it's no knock on him. I was calling him like Giannis, the Greek Freak. Like, if he doesn't win a championship, it's not because of his skill, it's because of the team that Milwaukee has put around him. So it's no knock on Giannis. He's incredible, but then that's what Sky would have been to me. Like, this incredible MC, but I personally, just me, have never loved an entire album. So it's also a relief for me. It's almost like you won, like you finally won a championship. Yep. Like, it was like a sigh of relief. Like, again, just for me, because I know mofos are gonna be like, yo, what about this and the one he did with Illmatic? For me, it's now to be able to say, like, yeah, now he's got that. And I just think he did an incredible job of painting a love letter to New York. Because that's what I feel when I hear 10 Days, it makes me think of Paid in Full. It makes me think of the New York drug deal. And it's funny because a lot of times people don't listen to the lyrics. Because I was telling this to my man who loves the album. He was like, I never even peeped that. And I'm like, yeah, that's why if you hear in the second bar, he says we roll up on 40 Deuce and they think that we rap. You know what I mean? The disrespect. These rappers ain't getting money like that. Like, people didn't put together. Like, I love the part he has a line where he says something like, shout out to all, like, from my apartment to all the fiends across it and the new Goldilocks bitches screaming over porridge, about gentrification of white people coming into the hood, now complaining about you moved to Brooklyn and now you're complaining about Brooklyn. So there was so many and then I think my favorite line, like, that I just felt like it was a Sham God crossover. He said something to the extent of something, if I had a horn, something like 40 acres. So when I say D's, I add a Lee like Cannonball. Add a Lee, Cannonball, never mind. That'll come to you tomorrow if you should have the time. Like, talking about Cannonball Adderley, the saxophone player, but then a bar back here, he said, no, if I had a horn, 40 acres for Spike Lee. So I added D like it was just like, dog, this dude is taking pieces of rhymes from different. He's not doing my name is Sky. I go to I live in the style. Like, it's all, he's grabbing things from just everywhere out the air and just kind of making it look easy. So I definitely love that album. Vern, give them all the information, good brother, where they can get at you if they are looking to buy. You sell houses too, right?
No, I'm a mortgage loan officer.
Okay. So if they're looking to buy a house.
Yep. On Instagram at V the Loan Closer, on Twitter at V Chandler 10.
All right, Porsche.
On Twitter at Cherchez La Porsche.
All right, did you start any shit this week, Porsche?
Not that I can. No, not that I can remember.
You've been calm because I ain't been. Well, you did start kind of one thing, but we'll wait till the cameras go off.
What?
I guess we gotta wait till the cameras go off.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can say, y'all, is if you go to a rap show, just be prepared. Here's the worst part, y'all, because somebody tweeted at me, well, Kill, who goes to the rap show on time? Now, number one, here's the first thing. I do ticket giveaways, so I want to always be at the box office and be out front to make sure these people who won tickets through Apartment 5B, their names on the guest list, that they're taken care of and that they're good. So I'm always going to try to get to the venue at 7 to make sure all of them get in. The problem is that when the Dungeon family came, me and my homeboys had the same thought process. Doors open at 8, show starts at 9. There's going to be a couple of open acts. We'll come in at 10. When we came in at 10, Goody Mob was already doing cell therapy. And I was pissed the fuck off that I done missed 20 minutes of this show. So it's not just as easy as come late, because I've come late to shows and then who doesn't want to see Goody Mob do cell therapy? Like that, like, you know, so to come in at the end of who's that looking in my window, and then like, so it's not as easy as just, well, Kill go late. I went to see Benny the Butcher. It had to be 17 opening acts.
Jeez.
17. And for people out there who don't understand, the new scam now, because it is a scam, is you can pay for opening act live.
Yeah.
So promoters may be like, well, we don't got all the money to pay Benny, but if we charge these 17 people $1,100, you know what I mean, then we can make some money. But I mean, it literally was like, and then the worst part about it is that the acts who were coming out at like number 15 were like, yo, where's the energy? And you hear the crowd like, come on, nigga, where's Benny? Like, yo, they left after opening act number 7. And like, here comes somebody else. And here's the other wild part that killed me. Every opening act, and it just shows me how important social media is. They were like, yo, follow me on Instagram. Like, one dude, before he even said a word, he was like, everybody, take out your phones. All right, go to Instagram. Follow me at _ASSASS. I'm like, yo, is this mofo spelling his IG? Like, that was everybody's goal of this night. I don't think nobody had no merch to sell. Nobody had no t-shirts to sell. It literally was just, please follow me on Instagram. Like, it was damn near begging. Start the show on Instagram, do a song. Don't forget, follow me on Instagram. Do another song, follow me on Instagram. Leave, follow me on Instagram. So it's just a testament to, I guess, how important those numbers are on social media for people to make it happen. But you already know what it is with me, at Kill889, Twitter, IG, We'll Make Beats for Food. Musay's album is out, Adolescent Tape. Yao's album is out, You're All Welcome. Me and Vegas's album is out, Keep Calm, We Brought Friends. Jamal Gasol's album is out, No Joy Without Pain, Part 3, produced by me and my man Keystar. And then in a couple of weeks, me and my man Lupus are putting out an album, A Day to Kill. So yeah, been busy this year. It's a blessing that people even want beats. So it's always a good thing to sell.
I'm about to drop one too.
Yo, here's the thing. Before the end of 2019, we gotta get Apartment 5B Cypher going.
No, not me, Vern. Your boy from Cali.
Oh yeah, Vern is dropping on Sunday.
Yeah.
But back to you, Vern. We are getting bars. Yao is gonna be on it. Vegas is gonna be on it. I'm gonna make the beat. Porsche, you gonna have to do something. I know you.
I'm telling you, I'm writing my stuff.
I'll be the Apartment 5B Puffy.
I'm coming in with writtens, bro.
Bro, you think I can freestyle you? Bro, I can't remember what I ate for lunch, let alone trying to go around this room. But we gonna make that happen. All right, y'all. We'll check y'all next week.
Right.
See ya.
All right, where your glasses at?
Yeah. Okay. So,
yeah, right here.
You're still alive. You're still alive.